Hello friends. Before we begin tonight's story, I need to ask you something. Nearly 80% of you watching right now aren't subscribed to the channel. If these stories give you chills and keep you coming back, please hit that subscribe button. It truly helps the channel grow. Also, leave a like and drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? Your support means everything. Tonight's story is about something that defies explanation. In 2021, a search and rescue team was dispatched to investigate reports of an entire village that had gone silent. 200 people vanished without a trace. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just silence. What the team discovered when they arrived changed everything they thought they knew about reality. Now, let's begin. My name doesn't matter anymore. What matters is what I saw, what we all saw. I've been with search and rescue for 9 years. I've pulled bodies from frozen lakes. I've found hikers who've been lost for weeks. I've seen things that would make most people quit. But nothing prepared me for Ashmont Creek. The call came in on October 7th, 2021. A Thursday. I remember because Thursdays were supposed to be my day off. Dispatch said it was a wellness check. A village in the northern wilderness had gone dark. No phone calls, no internet activity, no radio contact. Population 212, just gone quiet. At first we thought it was infrastructure. A downed power line, a cell tower failure. These things happen in remote areas. But then dispatch told us something that made my stomach drop. The last outgoing communication from Ashmont Creek was a 911 call. 3 days earlier, October 4th, the dispatcher who took the call said the caller was hysterical, screaming, saying everyone was disappearing, that something was taking people. The call cut off mid-sentence. When dispatch tried calling back, nothing. Every number in the village went straight to a dial tone or voicemail, like the entire place had been unplugged. Local sheriff's department sent a patrol car. It never came back. That's when they called us. Our team was assembled by noon. 6 of us. Team leader was a man named Vincent Carver, 42, former military, 20 years with SAR. If anyone could handle a situation like this, it was him. Then there was Elena Moss, our medic, 36. She'd seen more trauma than most ER doctors. Calm under pressure, always prepared for the worst. James Liang was our communications specialist, 28, genius with radios and GPS systems. If we lost contact with base, he'd get us back online. Sarah Brennan was our tracker, 33. Grew up in the wilderness, could read signs in the dirt. Most people wouldn't even notice. Kyle Austin was our photographer and documentation specialist, 25, fresh out of college. This was only his 4th mission with us. He was eager, maybe too eager. And then there was me, navigator. I handled the maps, the routes, making sure we didn't get lost. We loaded into 2 vehicles and drove north, 4 hours through winding mountain roads. The further we went, the quieter it got. Radio stations faded to static. Cell service dropped to nothing. By the time we reached the access road to Ashmont Creek, the sun was low on the horizon. Vincent wanted to wait until morning, but dispatch pushed back. The missing patrol officers, the 911 call. They wanted answers now. We continued. The access road was narrow, unpaved, hemmed in by dense forest on both sides. The trees were thick, old growth, the kind that blocked out the sky. About 2 miles in, we found the patrol car. It was parked on the side of the road. Doors closed. Engine off. No damage. No sign of a struggle. Vincent told us to stay in the vehicles while he checked it out. He approached slowly, hand on his radio. When he reached the driver's side door, he peered inside. Then he stepped back. His voice came over the radio. Calm, but there was something underneath it. Something I'd never heard from him before. The car's empty. Keys are still in the ignition. Radio's on. But there's no one here. Elena asked the obvious question. Where are the officers? Vincent didn't answer right away. He circled the car, checked the trunk, looked at the ground. There are no footprints, no tracks leading away from the vehicle. It's like they just stopped existing. We sat in silence for a moment. Then James spoke up. Should we call it in? Vincent tried. But the radio wouldn't connect. Too much interference from the terrain, or something else. We decided to continue on foot. We'd come this far. Turning back now didn't feel like an option. We gathered our gear, flashlights, first aid kits, radios, cameras, everything we'd need for a standard search operation. Except this wasn't standard. The forest around us was completely silent. No birds, no insects, no wind, just the sound of our boots on gravel and our breathing. Sarah was the first to notice it. This isn't right. I asked her what she meant. She stopped walking and looked around. The forest, it's too quiet. There should be sounds, animals, movement, but there's nothing. It's like everything's holding its breath. She was right. The silence was oppressive, unnatural. Kyle raised his camera and started filming. He said he wanted to document everything. For the record, looking back now, I wish he hadn't. We walked for another 20 minutes. The road curved gently upward, and then, through the trees, we saw lights. Street lights, dim and orange, flickering slightly. Ashmont Creek. We approached cautiously. Vincent kept us in a tight formation. He didn't say it, but I could tell he was on edge. The village appeared suddenly. One moment we were surrounded by forest. The next we were standing at the edge of a town, and it was completely deserted. The main street stretched out in front of us. Small buildings on either side. A general store, a post office, a diner. All the lights were on inside, but there was no one. Cars were parked along the street, doors closed. Some engines still warm. Vincent motioned for us to spread out and check the buildings. Elena and James went left. Sarah and Kyle went right. Vincent and I stayed on the main street. I pushed open the door to the diner. A bell chimed. Inside, the tables were set. Food was still on plates. Coffee cups half full. A pot of coffee sat on the burner, still warm. But no people. I called out. "Hello? Anyone here?" My voice echoed. No response. Vincent checked behind the counter. The register was open, cash still inside. He looked at me. It's like they all just left in the middle of a meal. I walked to the back. The kitchen was spotless. A pot of soup simmered on the stove. I turned it off. On the counter there was a notepad. Someone had been writing on it. The pen was still resting on the page. The last entry read, "Order for table 3, 2 burgers. 1. It stopped mid-word, like the person writing it had been interrupted. I took a photo of it. For the record, we were grouped outside. Everyone had the same story. Lights on, doors unlocked, signs of recent activity. But no people. Elena found a school, backpacks still hanging on hooks, desks arranged neatly, a chalkboard with the date written on it. October 4th, James found the post office, letters sorted, ready to be delivered. The clerk's computer was still logged in, an email half written on the screen. Sarah found homes, doors unlocked, TVs still playing, dinners cooling on tables. Kyle filmed all of it, and then he said something that made my blood run cold. "Guys, where are the animals?" We stopped, looked around. He was right. No dogs, no cats, not even birds in the trees. Vincent pulled out his radio and tried again to contact base. Still nothing but static. He made a decision. We'd stay the night, set up a perimeter, document everything, and in the morning, we'd figure out what the hell happened here. We chose the community center as our base. It was central, defensible, had a generator. As we set up, the sun finally set, and the village became very, very dark. The street lights flickered, then went out, one by one. James tried to get the generator running, but it wouldn't start, like it was out of fuel. But when he checked, the tank was full. We relied on our flashlights. Vincent set up a watch rotation, 2 people awake at all times, 4-hour shifts. The first shift was Vincent and Elena. The rest of us tried to sleep. I don't think anyone actually did. Around midnight I heard Vincent's voice, low, urgent. "Everyone up, now." We scrambled to our feet. He was standing at the window, looking out at the street. "There's someone out there." We crowded around. In the darkness, barely visible in the beam of his flashlight, was a figure, standing in the middle of the street, motionless. Kyle raised his camera, zoomed in. It was a woman, middle-aged, wearing a nightgown. Her hair was down, she was barefoot, and she was staring directly at us. Vincent grabbed his radio, tried to hail her, but his voice just echoed through the empty street. "Ma'am, this is search and rescue. We're here to help. Can you hear me?" The woman didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. Sarah whispered, "She's not breathing." I looked closer. Sarah was right. The woman's chest wasn't rising or falling. She was completely still, like a statue. Elena made the call. "I'm going out there." Vincent tried to stop her, but Elena was already moving. She grabbed her medical kit and headed for the door. "Someone needs to come with me. I'm not leaving a potential survivor out there." Vincent cursed under his breath, then nodded at me. "You're with her. Stay close. If anything feels wrong, you get back here immediately." I grabbed my flashlight and followed Elena outside. The cold hit me first. It had dropped at least 20 degrees since sunset. My breath came out in clouds. We approached the woman slowly. Elena called out to her. "Ma'am, my name is Elena. I'm the medic. Are you injured?" No response. We got within 10 feet. The woman's eyes were open, glassy, fixed on the community center behind us. Elena reached out, touched the woman's shoulder. The woman's head snapped toward us. I jerked back, nearly dropped my flashlight. But the woman didn't attack. She just looked at Elena. And then she spoke. Her voice was flat, emotionless. "You shouldn't have come here." Elena kept her voice steady. "What happened? Where is everyone?" The woman's gaze drifted past us, to the forest beyond the village. "They're waiting." "Who's waiting?" The woman's mouth moved, but no sound came out. Then slowly, she raised one arm, pointed toward the edge of the village, toward the tree line, and then she collapsed. Elena caught her, lowered her to the ground, checked her pulse. "She's alive, barely. Hypothermic. We need to get her inside." I helped carry her back to the community center. Vincent and James met us at the door. We laid her on a makeshift cot. Elena started working immediately. Blankets, warm water, checking vitals. The woman's eyes were open, but she wasn't responsive. She just stared at the ceiling, lips moving silently. Kyle leaned in with his camera, trying to capture what she was saying. After a moment, he pulled back. His face was pale. "What is it?" Vincent asked. Kyle replayed the footage, turned up the audio. The woman's whisper was barely audible, but it was clear enough. She was repeating the same phrase, over and over. "They're still here. They're still here. They're still here." Vincent asked her, who was still here, but she didn't answer, just kept whispering. Elena gave her a mild sedative. Eventually, the woman's eyes closed. Her breathing evened out. We gathered around the map, tried to make sense of what we just witnessed. Sarah pointed to the tree line where the woman had gestured. Whatever happened, it started there. James shook his head, or ended there. Vincent made the decision. "We'll investigate at first light. For now, we maintain the watch. 2 people at all times. No one goes outside alone." The rest of the night passed in tense silence. Every creak of the building made us jump. Every shadow seemed to move. I took the second watch with Sarah, 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. And around 4:30, Sarah nudged me, pointed to the window. Outside in the street there were more figures, 6 of them, standing in a line, all facing the community center. Men, women, different ages, all wearing night clothes, all barefoot, all completely motionless. Sarah's hand went to her radio, but before she could speak, the figures turned in unison and walked toward the forest. We watched them disappear into the darkness, swallowed by the trees. When Vincent woke up at 7, we told him what we'd seen. He didn't look surprised, just tired. "The woman's still unconscious. Elena says she's stable, but she won't wake up." He looked at each of us. "We have 2 options. We leave now and call for backup, or we investigate and try to find answers." James spoke first. "There's still no radio contact. If we leave, we might not be able to get help back here in time," Kyle added. "And if we don't figure out what happened, it might happen again, somewhere else." Vincent nodded slowly. "Then we go into the forest. We stay together. We document everything. And if things go south, we get out." Agreed? We all agreed. At 8 a.m., we gathered our gear. Elena stayed behind with the unconscious woman. The rest of us headed toward the tree line. The forest was darker than it should have been. The canopy overhead was so thick that barely any light got through. Sarah took point, following the path the figures have taken. The night before, the ground was soft, muddy, and there were footprints, dozens of them, all heading in the same direction. We followed them for half an hour. The trees grew denser, the air grew colder, and then we found the first body. It was a man, late 50s, lying face down in the mud, wearing pajamas. Vincent knelt beside him, checked for a pulse, shook his head. He's been dead for at least 2 days. Sarah examined the ground around him. No signs of trauma, no wounds. He just stopped. We marked the location, took photos, and continued. Over the next hour, we found 11 more bodies, all in the same condition. No injuries, no obvious cause of death, just lying in the forest, as if they'd walked out here and simply died. Kyle was documenting everything. His hands were shaking. This doesn't make sense. Why would they come out here? Why would they just stop? Vincent didn't have an answer. We continued deeper, and then the forest opened up. We stepped into a clearing, circular, maybe 100 feet across. The ground was bare, no grass, no plants, just dark, packed earth. In the center of the clearing was a structure. It looked old, ancient, made of stone, roughly 10 feet tall, shaped like a doorway, but there was no door, just an empty frame. And beyond the frame there was nothing, just darkness, even though the forest continued on the other side. Sarah approached it slowly. She stopped a few feet away. "What is this?" James pulled out a handheld radiation detector, swept the area. It started clicking, faster and faster the closer he got to the structure. "There's something here, not radiation, but some kind of energy. I've never seen meetings like this." Vincent ordered everyone to stay back. He pulled out his camera, started taking photos. Kyle walked around the structure, filming from every angle, and then he stopped. "There's something on the other side." We moved to see what he was looking at. On the back of the stone frame, there were carvings, symbols, worn down by time but still visible. Sarah ran her fingers over them. "These aren't English, or any language I recognize." Vincent took close-up photos. "We'll send these to someone who can translate. For now, we don't touch anything else." But it was too late. Kyle had already stepped through the frame. One moment he was there. The next, he was gone. Not vanished, just on the other side. He turned back to us, smiled. "It's fine, there's nothing here. It's just..." His smile faded. He looked down at his hands. Then back at us, his mouth opened. But no sound came out. Vincent shouted his name, started toward the frame, but Kyle took a step back, away from us, into the darkness beyond. And then he was swallowed by it. We ran to the frame, shined our lights through it. But there was nothing, just empty forest. Kyle was gone. Vincent grabbed his radio, tried to call Elena, but all he got was static. James checked his equipment. "We're being jammed. Something's interfering with all our electronics." Sarah was staring at the frame. Her face was white. "We need to leave now." Vincent didn't argue. We backed away from the structure, keeping our eyes on it, waiting for something to emerge. Nothing did. We ran back the way we'd come, through the forest, past the bodies, back toward the village. But when we broke through the tree line, we stopped. The village was different. The buildings were the same. The street layout was the same, but something was wrong. The cars were different models, older. The paint on the buildings was faded, peeling, and the streetlights were broken, shattered, like they'd been that way for years. Vincent spoke slowly. "This isn't the same village." James pointed to the community center. "Elena's still in there. We need to get her." We ran to the building, burst through the door. The interior was different too. Dusty, abandoned, furniture covered in grime, and Elena was gone. So was the woman. Sarah's voice was shaking. "What the hell is happening?" Vincent didn't answer. He was staring at the wall. There was writing on it, carved into the plaster. Fresh, like someone had just done it. It said, "You're in the wrong place. Turn back." Vincent pulled out his compass. The needle was spinning, erratic, like it couldn't find north. James checked his GPS. The screen was blank, just static. Sarah was breathing hard, on the edge of panic. "We need to go back through the forest, back through that thing." Vincent shook his head. "We don't know what that structure does." Kyle walked through and disappeared. "If we go back, we might end up somewhere worse." "Worse than this?" Sarah's voice cracked. I walked to the window, looked out at the street. The village was empty, but it felt different from before. Before it felt like people had just stepped away, like they'd be back any moment. Now it felt abandoned, forgotten, like no one had been here in decades. James was examining the carved message on the wall. "This is fresh. Someone wrote this recently, which means someone else is here." Vincent's jaw tightened. "Then we find them." We searched the building, top to bottom, empty rooms, dusty furniture. No signs of Elena or the woman. In what used to be the storage room, Sarah found something. A journal. The cover was worn, the pages yellowed. She opened it carefully. The first entry was dated September 12, 1963. She read aloud, "My name is Thomas Ashford. I am the mayor of Ashmont Creek. I am writing this so that someone, someday, will know what happened to us." Vincent moved closer. "Keep reading." Sarah flipped through the pages, found another entry. October 1st, 1963. The children were the first to notice. They said the forest was calling to them. We thought it was imagination, games, but then the adults started hearing it too. A sound, low, rhythmic, coming from the old structure in the clearing, the one our ancestors warned us never to approach. Another entry, October 3rd. People are walking into the forest at night. We try to stop them, but they don't respond. They just walk, like they're being pulled. This morning, we found 6 of them, dead, no wounds, no explanation, just gone. Sarah's hands were shaking. She turned to the last entry, October 4th, 1963. "It's taken almost everyone. Only 12 of us remain. We've barricaded ourselves in the community center. But I can feel it, the pull. It's getting stronger. I don't know how much longer I can resist. If you're reading this, don't go near the structure. Don't listen to the sound. And whatever you do, don't go through the doorway. It doesn't lead where you think it does." The entry ended there. Vincent took the journal, scanned the pages. "This village disappeared in 1963. We're standing in what's left of it." James's voice was barely a whisper. "Then where's the village we were in last night?" No one had an answer. Sarah pointed to the window. "Look, outside the sun was setting, but it was wrong. The light was too dim, too red, like it was shining through smoke. And in the street, figures were emerging from the buildings. People, dozens of them, wearing clothes from different eras, 50s, 60s, 70s, some more recent. They walked slowly, aimlessly, like they didn't have a destination." Vincent pulled us back from the window. "Stay quiet. Don't let them see us." We watched as the figures moved through the street. Some of them stopped at buildings, stood there for a moment, then continued on. One of them walked right past our window. A woman, young, maybe 20, wearing a dress from the 1940s. Her eyes were open, but empty. She didn't see us. James whispered, "Are they ghosts?" Vincent shook his head. "I don't know what they are." We waited until the figures moved on, disappearing back into the buildings or into the forest. When the street was clear, Vincent made a decision. "We're going back to the structure. It's the only constant between here and where we came from. If there's a way back, it's through there." Sarah protested. "Kyle went through and disappeared. How do we know we won't do the same?" "We don't," Vincent said. "But staying here isn't an option. We have no supplies, no contact with the outside world. And whatever this place is, it's not where we belong." He was right. We all knew it. We gathered what little gear we had left. Flashlights, the journal, our cameras, and we headed back into the forest. The path was harder to find this time. The trees seemed different, arranged differently, like the forest had shifted, but Sarah found the trail. The footprints were still there. Leading deeper, we walked in silence. Every sound made us jump. Every shadow seemed to move. After what felt like hours, we reached the clearing. The structure was still there, standing in the center, unchanged. But now, there was something else. Figures, standing around the structure, in a circle, facing inward. We counted 12 of them, all motionless, all silent. Vincent approached slowly, keeping his distance. One of the figures turned, looked directly at us. It was the woman from the night before, the one Elena had tried to save. Her face was blank, expressionless. She spoke, her voice echoing unnaturally. "You cannot leave." Vincent stopped. "Why not?" "Because you are here now, and here is everywhere." James stepped forward. "What does that mean?" The woman tilted her head, like she was listening to something we couldn't hear. "The structure does not connect places. It connects times, possibilities, realities. When you step through, you step into another version, another layer. There is no going back, only forward, only deeper." Sarah's voice was shaking. "Then how do we get home?" The woman's gaze shifted to her. "You don't. No one does. We are all lost here, wandering between the cracks." Vincent pulled out the journal, held it up. "Thomas Ashford wrote this. He said not to go through the doorway. But people did. What happened to them?" The woman's expression didn't change. "They are here. We are all here, in every version, in every time, trapped in the spaces between." I felt my stomach drop. "How many versions are there?" The woman looked at the structure. "Infinite." The other figures began to move, slowly, stepping toward us. Vincent raised his flashlight. "Stay back." But they didn't stop. They just kept walking, expressionless, relentless. Sarah grabbed my arm. "We need to run." But Vincent was staring at the structure. "At the doorway." "No," he said. "We need to go through." James looked at him like he'd lost his mind. "You just heard what she said. We'll get more lost." "Maybe," Vincent said. "Or maybe there's a version where we're still in our own time. Our own place. We just have to find it." The figures were getting closer. Vincent turned to us. "I'm going through. You can follow me or take your chances here, but I'm not staying in this place." He didn't wait for an answer. He ran toward the structure and stepped through the doorway. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the air around the structure rippled, like heat waves, and Vincent was gone. The figure stopped, turned toward the structure. Sarah looked at me. "What do we do?" I didn't hesitate. "We follow him." James nodded. Together, we ran. The figures reached for us, but we were faster. Sarah went through first, then James' I was last. As I crossed the threshold, I felt it, a pulling sensation, like being yanked through water, and then everything went dark. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the ground. The forest was above me, trees swaying in the wind. I sat up. Look around. I was back in the clearing. The structure was behind me, but the figures were gone. Sarah was next to me, breathing hard. "Did we make it?" James was checking his equipment. "GPS is back online. We're on the right coordinates, the right time." I looked for Vincent. He was standing near the edge of the clearing, staring at something. I walked over. In the dirt, there were footprints, fresh, leading away from the clearing. But they weren't ours. They were Kyle's. Vincent's voice was hollow. He came through before us, but he went the wrong direction. I followed the footprints with my eyes. They led deeper into the forest, away from the village. Sarah joined us. "Do we go after him?" Vincent didn't answer right away. He was staring at the trees. Finally, he shook his head. "No, we go back to the village. We get Elena. We get out of here. And we call for backup." We walked back in silence. When we emerged from the forest, the village was there. The right village. The one from our time. The street lights were on. The buildings looked normal. Cars were parked along the street. And the community center was just as we'd left it. We ran inside. Elena was there, kneeling next to the woman. She looked up when we entered. "Where the hell have you been? You've been gone for 6 hours." 6 hours. It had felt like days. Vincent didn't explain, just told her to pack up. We were leaving. The woman on the cot was still unconscious. Elena said she was stable enough to move. We loaded her into one of the vehicles, gathered our gear. As we drove away from Ashmont Creek, I looked back. The village was still there, quiet, empty. But in the rearview mirror, I saw something. A figure, standing at the edge of the forest, watching us leave. It looked like Kyle. We didn't stop driving until we reached the main highway. 2 hours of winding mountain roads in complete silence. When we finally hit asphalt and saw other cars, Sarah let out a breath she'd been holding for miles. James got the radio working around 9 p.m. He contacted base, told them we were coming in with one survivor, and that we'd lost a team member. Dispatch asked for details. Vincent told them we'd brief them in person. The woman in the back seat never woke up. Elena monitored her vitals the entire drive. Stable but unresponsive, like she was trapped somewhere between consciousness and sleep. We arrived at base just after midnight. There were vehicles waiting. Ambulances, police, federal agents. Someone had elevated this. They took the woman immediately, rushed her into the medical facility. We were separated, debriefed individually. I sat in a small room with 2 agents. They asked me to describe everything that happened. From the moment we arrived at Ashmont Creek to the moment we left, I told them. All of it. The empty village, the bodies in the forest, the structure, the doorway, the shifting realities. They listened without interrupting, took notes, recorded everything. When I finished, one of them asked, "Did you take any photographs? Any physical evidence?" I nodded, pulled out my camera, handed it over. They downloaded the files, examined them on a laptop. Then they looked at each other. One of them turned the screen toward me. "Is this what you saw?" The photos were there. The diner, the empty streets, the bodies in the forest. But the structure, the stone doorway, it wasn't in any of the photos. Every shot Kyle had taken of it was blank. Just empty clearing. No structure. Nothing. I stared at the screen. "That's impossible. We all saw it. We all went through it." The agent's expression didn't change. "What about video? Did anyone film it?" Kyle had. But Kyle was gone. James was brought in next. They asked him the same questions, showed him the same photos. He had the same reaction I did. Confusion, frustration. "I don't understand." It was there. "I took radiation readings. I have the data." They asked to see his equipment. He handed over his detector. They examined it, then shook their heads. "There's no recorded data here. The device shows normal background radiation. Nothing unusual." James grabbed the device, checked it himself. His face went pale. I don't know how that's possible. I saw the readings. We all did." They asked him to wait outside. Sarah's debrief took longer. She was the one who found the journal, the one written by Thomas Ashford, but when they asked her to produce it, she couldn't. It was gone. We'd had it when we went through the structure, but when we came back, it wasn't with us. Sarah insisted it was real, that she'd read it, that we all seen it. They made notes, said nothing. Vincent was the last to be debriefed. He was in there for 3 hours. When he came out, his face was unreadable. We were told to go home, get rest, that they'd contact us with further instructions. But as we were leaving, one of the agents pulled Vincent aside. I saw them talking. Low voices, serious expressions. When Vincent returned, I asked him what they'd said. He didn't answer, just told us to go home. 3 days later, we were called back. They'd sent a recovery team to Ashmont Creek. 20 people, fully equipped, with orders to document everything and locate Kyle. The team arrived at the village at dawn. They found it exactly as we'd described. Empty buildings, cars parked along the street. No people. They searched every structure, every home, every business. And they found bodies, 212 of them, scattered throughout the village and the surrounding forest, all in various states of decomposition, some recent, some decades old. Forensic analysis confirmed that the bodies belonged to the residents of Ashmont Creek. All of them. From every era the village had existed. Some of the bodies matched missing persons reports going back to the 1940s, but there was no sign of Kyle, no sign of the patrol officers who disappeared before us. The recovery team searched the forest, found the clearing, but there was no structure, no stone doorway, just empty ground. They cordoned off the area, brought in ground-penetrating radar, soil samples, radiation detectors. Nothing. One of the agents told us the official conclusion: mass hysteria, environmental factors, possibly toxic gas from underground vents, something that caused hallucinations and disorientation. They said the people of Ashmont Creek had been exposed over time, that it explained the deaths, the disappearances, the abandoned village. They said our team had been exposed too, that what we experienced was a shared delusion brought on by acute stress and environmental toxins. Vincent didn't argue, didn't protest. He just signed the paperwork, accepted the official report. But I saw his face. He didn't believe it. None of us did. We were placed on mandatory leave. 2 months. Psychological evaluation. Counseling. I tried to go back to normal life, but I couldn't. Every night I dreamed about the clearing, about the structure, about stepping through and never coming back. I started researching, looking for similar cases, disappearances, villages that went silent, structures in the wilderness. I found more than I expected. There were reports, dozens of them, spread across decades, different locations, different countries. Always the same pattern, a remote community, sudden silence, everyone gone, no explanation, and in some of the reports there were mentions of structures, stone doorways, ancient ruins, things that locals avoided that had warnings carved into the ground around them. I compiled everything into a file, sent it to Vincent. He called me 2 days later. Stop digging. I asked him why, because some things aren't meant to be understood, and some places aren't meant to be found. I told him I couldn't let it go, that Kyle deserved answers. There was a long silence. Then Vincent said something that made my blood run cold. Kyle's alive. I asked him how he knew. Because I've seen him. Vincent told me to meet him at a diner outside the city. Neutral ground, somewhere we could talk without being overheard. I arrived first, ordered coffee, waited. Vincent showed up 20 minutes later. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. He sat down, pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. Inside were photographs, surveillance footage, timestamps. I looked through them. My hands started shaking. The photos showed Kyle, in different locations, different cities, different times. One was from a gas station in Nevada, 2 weeks after Ashmont Creek. Kyle filling up a car, looking normal, unarmed. Another was from a grocery store in Oregon, 3 days ago. Kyle buying food, paying with cash. I looked up at Vincent. How is this possible? Vincent leaned back. I don't know, but he's not the only one. He showed me more photos. The patrol officers who'd disappeared, the ones we'd found the empty car for. They were alive too, spotted in different places, acting normal, like nothing had happened. I asked the obvious question, have you tried to contact them? Vincent nodded. The agency did. They tracked down one of the patrol officers, brought him in for questioning, and he had no memory of Ashmont Creek, no memory of the disappearance. As far as he was concerned, he'd taken a few days off. Went camping, came back to work like normal. I stared at the photos. What about Kyle? Have they found him? Vincent's jaw tightened. They're not looking for him. Why not? Because officially he's dead. Killed in the line of duty during a search and rescue operation. There was a memorial service. His family was notified. It's closed. I felt anger rising, but he's alive. These photos prove it. Vincent grabbed my wrist, hard. Listen to me. The agency doesn't want answers. They want this buried. And if you keep pushing, you're going to end up buried with it. I pulled my hand back. So what? We just forget about it. Pretend it didn't happen. Vincent's expression was grim. That's exactly what we do, because the alternative is worse. I asked him what he meant. He leaned in close, lowered his voice. 3 days ago I got a call. Unknown number. I picked up. It was Kyle. My heart stopped. What did he say? Vincent's voice was barely a whisper. He said, don't come looking for me. I'm where I'm supposed to be now. And then he hung up. I sat back, tried to process that. Where do you think he is? Vincent looked out the window, at the street, at the people walking by. I think he's in one of the other versions, one of the layers. And I think he's stuck there. Maybe by choice, maybe not. I asked if there was any way to get him back. Vincent shook his head. Even if there was, I wouldn't try, because every time someone goes through that doorway, they don't come back the same. Or they don't come back at all. He stood up, dropped cash on the table for the coffee. Go home. Forget about Ashmont Creek. Forget about the structure. Live your life. I watched him walk away, but I couldn't forget. That was 3 years ago. I left search and rescue 6 months after Ashmont Creek. Couldn't do it anymore. Every mission felt wrong, like I was waiting for something to pull me back. I moved to a different state, got a quiet job, tried to disappear into normal life, but I still think about it every day. About the village, the structure, the doorway, about the woman who said we were trapped in the spaces between, and about Kyle, out there somewhere, in another version, another time. I've kept all my research, all the reports, all the patterns, and I've found something. There are more structures, more doorways, scattered across the world. Most of them are forgotten, hidden, buried under time and vegetation. But some of them are still accessible, and people are still disappearing. I don't know what the structures are, or who built them, or why, but I know they're connected. To each other. To something bigger. And I know that Ashmont Creek wasn't the first place to disappear. It won't be the last. I started mapping them. Every disappearance, every abandoned village, every unexplained mass fetishing in the last 200 years. I used old newspaper archives, government records, missing persons databases, folklore collections. The pattern became clear. It happens in cycles. Roughly every 7 to 10 years, somewhere in the world, a community goes silent. Everyone disappears. No explanation. No bodies. Just empty buildings and unanswered questions. Roanoke Colony, 1590. 117 people. Vanished. The only clue was a single word carved into a tree. Croatoan, Verde, Brazil, 1923. 600 people. Gone overnight. Food. Still on tables. Doors left open. No signs of struggle. Lake Anjacuti, Canada, 1930. An entire Inuit village, 30 people, disappeared. Sled dogs found dead, tied up and starved, but no people. Ashmont Creek was just the latest. And in every case, if you dig deep enough, there are mentions of structures, stone formations, ancient ruins, things that locals avoided, that had warnings attached to them. Don't go near it, don't touch it, don't go through. I created a map, marked every location, connected the dots. The structures formed a pattern, a network, spanning continents, spanning centuries. They were built by someone or something, long before recorded history, and they were still active. I tried to share my research, posted it online, sent it to journalists, researchers, anyone who might listen. Most ignored it, called it conspiracy theory, pseudoscience. But a few responded. One message came from a professor of archaeology at a university in Scotland, Dr. Miriam Holt. She'd spent 30 years studying megalithic structures, standing stones, henges, cairns. She said she'd seen similar patterns, that there were sites across Europe and Asia that didn't fit known historical timelines, that seemed to serve no practical purpose, doorways to nowhere. She agreed to meet with me. We met at a coffee shop in Edinburgh. She brought files, decades of research. She showed me photographs of structures identical to the one at Ashmont Creek, in Wales, in Turkey, in Peru. All of them had the same basic design, a stone frame, an open doorway, leading to nothing, and all of them had local legends attached, stories of people walking through and never returning, of voices calling from the other side, of time behaving strangely near the stones. Dr. Holt leaned forward, her eyes intense. I've been trying to get funding to study these sites for years, but no one will support it. The academic community dismisses it as folklore. The government won't touch it, and anyone who gets too close ends up disappearing. I asked what she meant. She pulled out a list, names, dates, researchers, archaeologists, investigators, people who got too interested in these structures. Some of them vanished without a trace. Others had accidents, unexplained deaths, car crashes, falls, heart attacks. She tapped the list. The pattern is clear. Someone doesn't want these structures studied, and they're willing to kill to keep it that way. I felt a chill run down my spine. Who? Dr. Holt shook her head. I don't know. Governments, secret organizations, something older. But whoever they are, they're watching. She handed me a flash drive. This is everything I have. Every site, every disappearance, every piece of evidence I've collected. If something happens to me, make sure this gets out. I took the drive. What are you going to do? She smiled grimly. I'm going to one of the sites. In Wales. There's a structure there that's been sealed off for decades. I've been granted temporary access for a geological survey. I'm going to document it. Get samples. Find out what these things are made of. I asked when she was going. Next week. I offered to go with her, but she refused. You've already been through one of these doorways. You know what they can do. I won't risk you getting pulled back in. We exchanged contact information, agreed to stay in touch. I left Edinburgh the next day. Dr. Holt went to Wales. She never came back. The official report said she fell, a tragic accident during a routine survey. Her body was found at the base of a cliff near the structure, but I didn't believe it. I contacted the authorities, asked for details. They stonewalled me, said it was an ongoing investigation, that they couldn't release information to known family members. I tried reaching out to her colleagues, her research assistant, anyone who might know what happened. Most wouldn't talk to me. The ones who did said the same thing. Dr. Holt had been acting strangely in the days before her death. Distracted, paranoid, saying she was being followed. One of her assistants told me that Dr. Holt had called her the night before the accident, said she'd found something that proved the structures were connected, that they were part of a system. She said she was going to go through one of them, to document what was on the other side. The assistant begged her not to, but Dr. Holt wouldn't listen. The next morning, she was dead. I asked if Dr. Holt had left any notes, any recordings. The assistant said everything had been confiscated by government agents. The same day her body was found. I hung up, sat in silence. Dr. Holt had gotten too close, and they'd killed her for it, or something had. I should have stopped then. Should have taken Vincent's advice, buried the research, moved on. But I couldn't, because I'd started having dreams again. Not nightmares, something worse. I'd dream I was standing in front of a doorway, the same stone structure from Ashmont Creek. Then I could hear voices on the other side, calling my name, telling me to come through, telling me I belonged there. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, heart pounding. But the voice stayed with me, an echo in the back of my mind. I started seeing things too, out of the corner of my eye, shadows that moved wrong, figures that weren't there when I looked directly at them. And then one night I saw Kyle. I was walking home from work. It was late, the street was empty, and there he was, standing under a streetlight, wearing the same clothes he'd worn at Ashmont Creek. I stopped, stared at him. He didn't move, just looked at me, his expression blank. I took a step toward him. He shook his head, slowly, and then he turned and walked away. Into an alley. I followed, but when I reached the alley, it was empty. No sign of him, just a wall, covered in graffiti, except one piece of graffiti stood out. It was a symbol, carved into the brick. The same symbols we'd seen on the structure in Ashmont Creek, and beneath it, written in fresh paint, were 3 words, "Don't come back." I stopped sleeping, stopped eating. I became obsessed. I reviewed all of Dr. Holt's research, all the sites, all the reports, and I found something she'd missed. The structures weren't random. They were arranged in a specific pattern, a geometric design. When you connected them on a map, they formed a shape, a spiral. And at the center of the spiral was a location that had no structure, no documented site, just coordinates. In northern Alaska, in the middle of nowhere. I didn't understand what it meant, but I knew it was important. I booked a flight. 3 days later, I was standing in a frozen wasteland, miles from the nearest town, guided by GPS and a rented snowmobile. The coordinates led me to a valley, sheltered by mountains on 3 sides, completely isolated, and in the center of the valley was a structure, but it wasn't like the others. This one was massive, 30 feet tall, made of black stone, covered in symbols, hundreds of them, spiraling around the frame, and the doorway wasn't empty. It was filled with darkness, not shadow, not absence of light, but a tangible physical darkness, like a curtain rippling slightly in a wind. I approached slowly, every instinct screaming at me to turn back, but I couldn't. I'd come too far. I stood in front of the doorway, felt the pull, the same sensation I'd felt at Ashmont Creek. It was calling to me, and then I heard a voice, not from the doorway, from behind me. "You shouldn't be here." I spun around. It was Vincent. He was standing 20 feet away, holding a gun, pointed at the ground, not at me. But the message was clear. "How did you find me?" I asked. Vincent's expression was hard. "I've been tracking you, ever since you started digging again. I knew you'd end up here eventually." "You knew about this place?" He nodded. "We all did. Everyone who's ever been through one of the structures. It calls to us, pulls us back. This is where it all leads." I looked at the massive doorway. "What is it?" Vincent stepped closer. "It's the source, the first one, the one all the others are connected to. And if you go through, you won't come back. Not as yourself, not as anything." I asked how he knew. He lowered the gun. "Because I've been through. More than once, and every time, I lose a piece of myself. A memory, a feeling, something that made me human. He pulled back his sleeve. His arm was covered in scars, strange patterns, like the symbols on the structure. This is what it does. It marks you, changes you, turns you into something else, something that exists between the layers. I stared at the scars. Then why did you come back here? Vincent looked at the doorway. Because I can't help it. None of us can. Once you've been through, you're tied to it. It won't let you go. He looked back at me. You still have a chance. You haven't gone through this one. You can still walk away. Go back to your life. Forget all of this. I wanted to. Every part of me wanted to turn around and leave, but I couldn't, because I needed to know what was on the other side, what the structures were, where they led. I took a step toward the doorway. Vincent raised the gun. Don't. I stopped. Are you going to shoot me? His hand was shaking. If I have to. We stood there, locked in a stalemate. And then a voice came from the doorway. My voice. Come through. You're almost home. I look at Vincent. His face had gone pale. It's using your voice, your memories, anything to lure you in. Don't listen. But the voice continued. You've been looking for answers. They're here, on the other side. Everything you've ever wanted to know. I felt the pull intensify, like a rope around my chest, dragging me forward. Vincent stepped between me and the doorway. Fight it. You're stronger than this. But I wasn't. I pushed past him, reached for the darkness, and then Vincent tackled me, slammed me to the ground. I'm not losing you too, he shouted. We struggled. He was stronger, but I was desperate. I broke free, stumbled toward the doorway. My hand touched the darkness, and everything stopped. The moment my hand touched the darkness, the world inverted. Everything I'd known about reality became a suggestion, a possibility among infinite others. I wasn't falling. I wasn't standing. I was simply existing in a space that had no dimension, no direction, no time, and I could see them. All of them, the layers, the versions, the infinite variations of the same moment stretching in every direction. I saw Ashmont Creek. Not one version. Thousands. In some, the village was thriving, filled with people going about their lives. In others, it was burning, collapsing, consumed by darkness. I saw myself, standing in the clearing. But not alone. There were other versions of me, some going through the doorway, some running away, some lying dead in the forest. Every choice, every possibility, all existing simultaneously. And then I saw the truth. The structures were doorways. They were anchors, points where the layers touched, where realities bled into each other. And they were failing. The darkness I'd touched wasn't empty. It was full, overfull, bursting with the weight of too many realities trying to exist in the same space. The structures were collapsing, and when they did, everything would collapse with them. Every version, every timeline, every possibility, all of it would merge into a single point. A singularity of existence where nothing could exist separately, where everything would be everything else. Chaos, pure, and unfiltered. I understood now why people disappeared near the structures. They didn't die. They were absorbed, pulled into the space between layers, trapped in the overflow, existing and not existing, everywhere and nowhere. And I was about to join them. But then something pulled me back. Not physically, something deeper, a tether I didn't know I had. I felt myself being yanked away from the darkness, dragged backward through the layers, and then I slammed back into my body. I was lying on the frozen ground. Vincent was on top of me, his hands on my shoulders, his face inches from mine. Breathe, he was shouting. Come on, breathe, I gasped. Air flooded my lungs. It hurt. Everything hurt. Vincent pulled me upright. Can you hear me? I nodded. Couldn't speak yet. He dragged me away from the doorway. 20 feet, 30, until we were at the edge of the valley. I looked back at the structure. The darkness was still there, but it was different now. Agitated, rippling violently, like something inside was trying to get out. Vincent saw it too. We need to go now. He hauled me to my feet, half carried me toward the snowmobile. Behind us, the structure began to hum. A low, resonant sound. It vibrated through the ground, through my chest, through my bones. Vincent shoved me onto the snowmobile, started the engine, gunned it. We shot across the snow, away from the valley, away from the structure. I looked back one last time. The darkness was expanding, spilling out of the doorway, spreading across the ground like oil, consuming everything it touched. And in the darkness, I saw shapes, figures, hundreds of them, thousands, all the people who'd ever gone through, all the people who'd been absorbed. They were trying to get out. We didn't stop until we reached the nearest town, 50 miles south. Vincent drove like a man possessed, the snowmobile screaming across the ice. When we finally stopped, I collapsed. Vincent caught me before I hit the ground. He dragged me into a motel, got a room, locked the door. I sat on the bed, shaking, unable to process what I'd just experienced. Vincent poured water from a bottle, forced me to drink. "What did you see?" he asked. I told him everything. The layers, the versions, the collapse. Vincent listened without interrupting. When I finished, he sat back, his face grim. "Then it's already started?" I asked what he meant. He pulled out his phone, showed me news articles, recent ones, unexplained phenomena, all over the world. Time anomalies, people appearing in places they couldn't have been. Entire streets shifting overnight, buildings that didn't exist yesterday suddenly standing for decades. "The layers are bleeding into each other," Vincent said. "The structures are failing, and when they fully collapse, reality as we know it will cease to exist." I felt cold. "How long do we have?" Vincent shook his head. "I don't know. Could be years, could be days, but it's happening, and there's nothing we can do to stop it." I looked at him. There has to be something. Someone built these structures. Someone must know how to fix them. Vincent's laugh was bitter. "If they're even still alive, these things are ancient, older than any civilization we know. Whoever built them is long gone." "Then we find someone who knows," I said. "There have to be records, texts, something." Vincent stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the empty street. "There's one person who might know, but reaching her is going to be dangerous." I asked who. He turned to face me. "Her name is Dr. Yuki Tanaka. She's an astrophysicist, specializes in theoretical physics, parallel universes, multiverse theory." "Why would she know about the structures?" "Because 5 years ago, she published a paper on reality anchors, theoretical points in space-time that hold parallel dimensions apart. She was laughed out of the academic community, called a crackpot, but what she described matches these structures exactly." I sat forward. "Where's she? Well, last I heard, she was in Japan, working independently. Off the grid, she won't talk to just anyone. But if you can convince her to listen, she might be able to help." I stood up. "Then we go to Japan." Vincent grabbed my arm. "No, you go. I can't." I looked at him. "Why not?" He pulled up his sleeve again. The scars had spread. They were crawling up his neck now, visible above his collar. "I'm too far gone. The more exposure I have to the structures, the more I change. If I go near another one, I might not come back as myself, or at all." I felt a pang of guilt. "This is my fault. I shouldn't have come here." Vincent shook his head. "You came because you needed answers. Same reason I did. Same reason we all do. But now you have them, and you need to do something with them." He handed me a piece of paper. An address. Handwritten. "This is where Dr. Tanaka was last seen. Find her. Show her what you've seen. Maybe she can figure out how to stop this." I took the paper, folded it carefully, put it in my pocket. "What will you do?" Vincent smiled. Sad. Resigned. "I'm going back to the structure. Someone needs to monitor it. Document what's happening. If things get worse, someone needs to warn people." I started to protest, but he cut me off. "This is my choice. I've been running from this for too long. It's time I faced it." We stood there for a moment. Then Vincent pulled me into a brief hug. "Good luck," he said. And then he was gone. I flew to Japan 2 days later. The address Vincent gave me led to a small town on the coast. Remote. Quiet. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone. I asked around. Showed Dr. Tanaka's photo. Most people shook their heads. Didn't recognize her. But one elderly shopkeeper pointed me toward a house on the edge of town. Near the cliffs. I walked there. The house was small, traditional. well-maintained but isolated. I knocked on the door. No answer. I knocked again. The door opened a crack. A woman peered out, late 40s, sharp eyes, suspicious. "Dr. Tanaka?" I asked in English. She started to close the door. "Wait," I said. "I know about the reality anchors. I've seen them. I need your help." She stopped, studied me. "Who are you?" I told her my name, told her about Ashmont Creek, about the structures, about what I'd seen in Alaska. She listened, her expression unreadable. When I finished, she opened the door fully. "Come in." Dr. Tanaka's home was filled with research, walls covered in equations, maps, diagrams, models of theoretical constructs. She gestured for me to sit. "You're not the first person to come to me with this story," she said, "but you're the first to come back from one of the central anchors." I asked what she meant by central anchor. She pointed to a map on the wall. It showed the same spiral pattern I'd discovered, but with additional markers, layers of spirals, nested within each other. "The structures aren't random," she explained. "They're part of a network, a system designed to keep parallel realities separate. There are minor anchors, regional anchors, and central anchors. The one in Alaska is a central anchor, one of 7. What happens if they fail?" Dr. Tanaka's expression darkened. Total reality collapse. Every timeline, every version, every possibility, all of them merge into a single point. Existence becomes impossible. Everything cancels everything else out. I felt my stomach drop. "Can it be stopped?" She was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Maybe, but it would require someone to go through, to the other side, to the space between layers, and manually reset the anchors from within." I asked if that was even possible. She pulled out a notebook, showed me calculations, theories, models. "In theory, yes, the anchors can be reset, but it would require a massive amount of energy, and the person doing it would have to be able to navigate the space between realities without getting lost, without getting absorbed." "Has anyone tried?" Dr. Tanaka looked away. "Once, a colleague of mine, Dr. Holt." My heart stopped. "You knew her?" Tanaka nodded. "We worked together. Years ago, she was brilliant, obsessed with the anchors. She believed she could fix them. She went to one of the structures in Wales, tried to go through. What happened? She didn't come back. Or rather, she did. But not the same. She was changed, fractured, like she was existing in multiple places at once. She couldn't hold herself together. She fell apart, literally. I remembered the official report, the fall, the accident. She didn't fall, did she?" Dr. Tanaka shook her head. "She collapsed, disintegrated, because she couldn't anchor herself. The space between realities tore her apart." I sat back, trying to process that. "So there's no way to reset the anchors, not without dying?" Dr. Tanaka hesitated. "There might be one way, but it's never been tested." She pulled out a device, small, the size of a phone, covered in symbols. "This is a prototype, a personal anchor. It's designed to lock someone's reality state, to keep them whole even when moving between layers. If it works, someone could go through, reset the anchors, and come back." I looked at the device. "Does it work?" "I don't know. I've never had anyone willing to test it." I picked it up, turned it over in my hands. It was warm, vibrating slightly. I looked at Dr. Tanaka. "If I do this, if I go through, what are the odds I come back?" She met my eyes. "Honestly, less than 10%. I nodded slowly. "I'll do it." Dr. Tanaka spent the next 3 days preparing me. She explained how the personal anchor worked. It was based on quantum entanglement. The device would lock my molecular structure to a specific reality state, my baseline. No matter what happened in the space between layers, the anchor would pull me back to that state, keep me whole. In theory, she also showed me how to reset the central anchors. Each one had a core, a physical object buried within the structure. Ancient, crystalline, pulsing with energy. To reset an anchor, I'd need to reach the core, activate it, and let it recalibrate. The process would take approximately 30 seconds per anchor. 7 anchors, 3.5 minutes total. Sounded simple. But Dr. Tanaka warned me. The space between layers wasn't empty. It was filled with echoes, Fragments of people who'd been absorbed. Lost souls, broken timelines. They would try to pull me in, to drag me down, to make me one of them. I'd need to resist. Stay focused. Remember who I was. She gave me a phrase. Something to repeat. A mental anchor to go with the physical one. I am real. I am whole. I am returning. Simple, but effective. I practiced it, over and over, until it became automatic. On the third day, Dr. Tanaka told me we were ready. She'd identified the 7 central anchors, plotted their locations: Alaska, Wales, Peru, Turkey, Mongolia, Antarctica, and one more. The 7th anchor was underwater, off the coast of Japan, in a trench 6,000 feet deep. That one would be the hardest. But it was also the closest. Dr. Tanaka had arranged for a submersible, a deep-sea research vessel, normally used for studying ocean vents. We'd modified it, reinforced it, added equipment to measure the anchor's energy signature. And we'd go down together. We left at dawn. The research vessel was small, a crew of 4. The captain, a pilot, an engineer, and Dr. Tanaka. I was the passenger. We sailed for 6 hours, out into open water, far from any shipping lanes, far from any surveillance. The ocean was calm, gray, endless. Dr. Tanaka stood next to me on the deck, watching the horizon. "Are you afraid?" she asked. I thought about it. Yes, I'm not of dying. I'm afraid of getting lost, of forgetting who I am. She nodded. That's a rational fear. The space between realities is designed to erase identity, to dissolve boundaries. You'll need to hold on to yourself with everything you have. I touched the personal anchor. It was attached to my chest, embedded in a harness, warm against my skin. What if it doesn't work? What if I can't come back? Dr. Tanaka looked at me. Then you'll become part of the between, like all the others, but at least you'll have tried. It wasn't comforting, but it was honest. We reached the coordinates at noon. The captain dropped anchor. The engineer prepared the submersible. It was a sphere, titanium, with thick glass viewports, designed to withstand crushing pressure. Dr. Tanaka and I climbed inside. The hatch sealed behind us. The pilot's voice came through the radio. Ready for descent. Estimate 40 minutes to target depth. Dr. Tanaka confirmed. Proceed. The crane lifted us over the side, and then we dropped. The water closed over us. Sunlight faded quickly. Within minutes, we were surrounded by darkness. The submersible's lights cut through the black, illuminating fish, jellyfish, particles of organic matter drifting like snow. We descended in silence, watching the depth gauge. 1,000 feet, 2,000, 3,000. The pressure outside was immense. I could hear the hull creaking, groaning under the weight. At 4,000 feet, the ocean floor came into view. It was barren, flat, covered in sediment. The pilot adjusted our trajectory, following the coordinates. And then we saw it. A trench, a crack in the ocean floor, hundreds of feet wide, descending into deeper darkness. The submersible moved over the edge, started descending into the trench. 5,000 feet, 6,000. And then the sensors started beeping. Dr. Tanaka checked the readouts. We're getting energy spikes. It's down there. The lights caught something, a shape, rising from the bottom of the trench. The anchor. It was larger than the others I'd seen. 50 feet tall, made of black stone. But it was different. Covered in growth, coral, barnacles, algae. And it was glowing, faint, pulsing, like a heartbeat. The submersible settled onto the ocean floor, 20 feet from the structure. Dr. Tanaka handed me a rebreather, a waterproof suit, gloves. You'll need to go out there. The core is inside. You'll have to enter the structure to reach it. I looked at the dark water outside, the pressure, the cold. How long do I have? The suit will give you 30 minutes of air. The pressure compensation will hold for maybe 45. After that, you'll be crushed. I nodded, pulled on the suit, checked the seals. Dr. Tanaka activated the personal anchor. It hummed to life. I felt it, a warmth spreading through my chest. Remember, she said, I am real. I am whole. I am returning. I repeated it. I am real. I am whole. I am returning. She opened the hatch. Water flooded in, controlled. The pressure equalized. I stepped out into the ocean. The cold hit me immediately. Even through the suit, the water was near freezing. I activated my helmet light, moved toward the structure. Up close, it was massive, ancient. The symbols carved into the stone were different here, more complex, layered. I found the entrance, a narrow opening, just wide enough to fit through. I squeezed inside. The interior was hollow, a chamber, and in the center, suspended in the water, was the core. It was a crystal, the size of a basketball, glowing with soft blue light, pulsing in rhythm with the structure. I approached it, reached out. The moment my hand touched the crystal, the world shifted. I wasn't underwater anymore. I was standing in a vast space, endless, filled with light and shadow in equal measure. And I wasn't alone. There were figures, thousands of them, standing, sitting, drifting, all around me. I recognized some of them, the people from Ashmont Creek, the patrol officers. Dr. Holt Kyle. He was standing 10 feet away, looking at me, his expression blank. I called his name. He didn't respond. I moved toward him, but the space between us didn't shrink. No matter how far I walked, he stayed the same distance away. And then I heard the voice again, my voice. "You don't belong here. Go back." I stopped, looked around. The figures were moving now, slowly, turning toward me. Their faces were wrong, blurred, like they were being erased. And then they spoke, all of them, in unison. "Stay, join us, be free." I felt the pull, the same pull I'd felt at every structure, but stronger now, overwhelming. I wanted to let go, to stop fighting, to dissolve into the between. But then I remembered, I am real. I forced the words out. I am real. The figures stopped. I am whole. The space around me stabilized. I am returning. The crystal appeared in front of me, floating, glowing. I reached for it and activated it. The light exploded. I was thrown back, slammed into something solid. When I opened my eyes, I was back in the underwater chamber. The crystal was blazing now, so bright I had to look away. And then it dimmed. The pulsing slowed, steadied. The anchor had reset. 1 down, 6 to go. I swam back to the submersible, climbed inside. Dr. Tanaka was waiting, her face pale. "You were gone for 10 minutes. I thought I'd lost you." I pulled off the rebreather, gasping. "I'm okay. It worked." She checked the readings. The anchor's stable. The energy signature is normalizing. I looked at her. "How do I get to the others?" Dr. Tanaka pulled out a map. "Mark the locations. We start with Wales. Then Peru, then Turkey, then Mongolia, then Alaska, then Antarctica." I calculated the time. "That'll take weeks, maybe months." She shook her head. "We don't have that long. The collapse is accelerating. We have days, maybe a week." I stared at her. "Then how?" She pointed to the structure outside. "You don't travel to them. You travel through them. The anchors are connected. If you go through one, you can reach the others from the inside, from the between." My stomach dropped. "You want me to stay in there? Navigate through the space between realities?" "It's the only way. The anchors are collapsing in sequence. If you don't reset them quickly, the entire network will fail." I looked at the glowing structure, the darkness beyond. "If I go in there, if I stay, how do I come back?" Dr. Tanaka's voice was quiet. "The same way you came back just now. You hold on to yourself. You remember who you are, and you trust the anchor." I sat back, closed my eyes. This was it, the point of no return. I could go back now, surface, walk away, let the world collapse and face whatever came. Or I could go through, face the between, and try to save everything. I opened my eyes, looked at Dr. Tanaka. "If I don't come back, tell Vincent I tried." She nodded. "I will." I put the rebreather back on, checked the personal anchor, and I stepped back out into the water. This time, I didn't stop at the crystal. I walked past it, to the back of the chamber. There was another opening, smaller, filled with the same darkness I'd seen in Alaska. I took a breath. I am real, I am whole, I am returning, and I stepped through. The darkness swallowed me whole. For a moment there was nothing. No sight, no sound, no sensation, just existence without context. And then the between opened up. It wasn't a place, not in any conventional sense. It was a space, a void, filled with fragments of reality that didn't fit together. I saw landscapes, cities, forests, oceans, all overlapping, bleeding into each other. A house standing in the middle of a desert, a highway cutting through an ocean, mountains floating upside down in empty sky, and the people, thousands of them, maybe millions, standing, walking, drifting, all of them lost, all of them fractured. I saw versions of myself, some walking past me like I wasn't there, some staring directly at me, some screaming silently. I forced myself to focus. I am real. I am whole. I am returning. The personal anchor pulsed against my chest, warm, steady, keeping me grounded. I looked around, searching for the next anchor. In the distance, I saw it, a structure, rising from the chaos. Stone, glowing faintly, whales. I started walking toward it, but the space didn't cooperate. Every step I took, the structure moved, sometimes closer, sometimes farther. Distance had no meaning here. I stopped, tried a different approach. Dr. Tanaka had said the anchors were connected, part of a network. If I could feel the connection, I could follow it. I closed my eyes, focused on the anchor in my chest, felt its pulse, and then I felt it. A thread, thin, invisible, connecting me to the next anchor. I followed it. The space shifted around me. Landscapes blurred. Figures dissolved. And then I was standing in front of the structure. It was identical to the one in Japan. Black stone, symbols, glowing core visible through the entrance. I stepped inside. The chamber was the same, empty, hollow. The crystal suspended in the center, but this time there was someone else there. Dr. Holt. She was standing next to the crystal, her back to me, motionless. I called her name. She turned, slowly. Her face was wrong, fragmented, like a reflection in broken glass. Parts of her were missing, replaced by darkness. She spoke, her voice layered, multiple versions speaking at once. You shouldn't have come here. You can't fix this. No one can. I took a step back. Dr. Holt, it's me. I'm here to reset the anchors, to stop the collapse. She laughed, a hollow sound. There is no stopping it. The anchors were always failing. They were built to fail. That's their purpose. I didn't understand. What do you mean? She moved closer, her form flickering, unstable. The structures were never meant to keep realities apart. They were meant to merge them, slowly, over millennia, to create a single unified existence, one reality, one timeline, one truth. My blood ran cold. Who built them? Why? Dr. Holt's fractured face smiled. We did. Humanity, in the future, or the past, or both. The time doesn't matter. We built them to escape the heat death of the universe, to merge all timelines into one, to ensure survival. I stared at her. But if the timelines merge, everything will cancel out. Nothing will survive. Not nothing, she said. Something new. Something beyond individuality, beyond separation. A collective existence, infinite consciousness in a singular point. I shook my head. That's insane. That's annihilation. No, Dr. Holt said. That's evolution. She reached for the crystal. I lunged forward, grabbed her arm. Don't. She turned to me, her eyes empty. You can't stop this. Even if you reset all the anchors, they'll just fail again. The process has already begun. The merge is inevitable. I pulled her away from the crystal. Then I'll delay it. Give people time. Give them a choice. Dr. Holt's form flickered. For a moment I saw her true face. The woman she'd been before. Scared, desperate. Please, she whispered. Let me go. I don't want to exist like this anymore. I released her. She stepped back, into the darkness at the edge of the chamber, and dissolved. I turned to the crystal, reached out, and reset the anchor. The light flared. The structure stabilized. 2 down. 5 to go. Peru was next. I followed the thread. The space shifted. I emerged in a jungle. Dense, overgrown. The structure was half buried, covered in vines. The entrance barely visible. I pushed through, into the chamber. This one wasn't empty. There were bodies, dozens of them, lying on the ground, preserved, like they'd been there for centuries. I recognized the clothing, Inca. Spanish conquistadors, modern hikers, all of them had reached this place. All of them had failed. I stepped over them carefully, approached the crystal. As I touched it, the bodies moved, not alive, but animated, puppeted by something else. They stood, turned toward me, their eyes empty, and they spoke, one voice, coming from all of them. Why do you resist? Why do you cling to separation? I backed away, because I'm not ready to let go. None of us are. The bodies moved closer, surrounding me. You will be absorbed. You will become part of the whole. It is inevitable. I am real. I am whole. I am returning. The personal anchor flared. The bodies stopped, flickered. I reached past them, touched the crystal, reset the anchor. The bodies collapsed, lifeless again. 3 down, 4 to go. Turkey. The structure stood in a desert, alone, weathered by sand and wind. I entered the chamber, empty, silent. But when I touched the crystal, I saw them, memories, not mine. Everyone who'd ever been absorbed, their entire lives, flashing through my mind in seconds. Births, deaths, loves, losses, triumphs, failures. Thousands of lifetimes. Overwhelming, crushing. I felt myself slipping, dissolving into the flood of memories. I am real. I forced the words out, fought against the tide. I am whole. The anchor pulsed, steadied me. I am returning. I reset the anchor. 4 down, 3 to go. Mongolia? The structure stood on a vast plain, surrounded by nothing. When I entered, I found Kyle. Not a fragment, not an echo. Him, whole, aware. He looked at me, smiled. You made it. I ran to him, grabbed his shoulders. Kyle, you're okay. You're here. He nodded. I've been waiting for you. I looked around. We need to get you out. Back to the real world. Kyle shook his head. I can't go back. I'm part of this now. Part of the between. No, I said. The personal anchor. It can stabilize you. We can both get out. He stepped back. I don't want to get out. I understand now. What this place is. What it's trying to do. It's not evil. It's not wrong. It's just different. I stared at him. They got to you. The between. It changed you. Kyle's smile faded. It didn't change me. It showed me the truth. We're all connected. Every version, every timeline, every choice. We're all the same consciousness experiencing itself from infinite perspectives. The merge isn't death. It's reunion. I felt tears stinging my eyes. Kyle, please come back with me. He reached out, touched my face. I can't, but you can. You can finish this. We set the anchors, give people more time. And when you're ready, when everyone's ready, you can choose to merge on your own terms. I grabbed his hand. I don't want to leave you here. You're not leaving me, Kyle said. I'm everywhere now, in every version, every timeline. I'll always be with you. He stepped back, into the darkness. Reset the anchor. Finish what you started. I watched him disappear. Then I turned to the crystal and reset the anchor. 5 down, 2 to go, Alaska. I emerged at the central structure, the one Vincent had stopped me from entering. The darkness was still there, still expanding, but slower now. The resets were working. I entered the chamber and found Vincent. He was standing next to the crystal, his entire body covered in the scars, the symbols. He was more structure than man now. He looked at me. I knew you'd make it. I moved toward him. Vincent, what happened to you? He smiled, sad, tired. I stayed too close for too long. The structure absorbed me. I'm part of it now, part of the network. I reached for him. We can get you out. The personal anchor. He held up a hand. It's too late for me, but not for everyone else. Reset this anchor, then go to Antarctica. Finish it. I hesitated. What will happen to you? Vincent looked at the crystal. I'll become part of the reset, part of the stabilization. I'll hold the network together for as long as I can. I felt my throat tighten. I'm sorry. I should have listened to you. Should have stopped when you told me to. Vincent shook his head. You did what you had to do, what we all have to do. Face the unknown. Seek the truth. even if it costs us everything. He placed his hand on the crystal. Go, finish this. I touched the crystal, next to his hand, and reset the anchor. Vincent's form dissolved, merged with the structure, became light, and then he was gone. 6 down, 1 to go. Antarctica. The final anchor. I followed the thread through the between. The space was calmer now, more stable. The resets were holding, but I could feel the weight of it, the strain, like the entire network was balanced on a knife's edge. One more anchor, one more reset, and it would hold for a while, long enough for people to live their lives, to make their choices, to decide their own fate. I emerged into a frozen wasteland. The wind was brutal, howling, temperatures far below zero. Even in the between, I could feel the cold seeping through. The structure stood alone, in the middle of an ice field, surrounded by nothing but white. I approached it. This anchor was different, larger than the others, more complex. The symbols covered every surface, layered, overlapping, like they'd been carved over thousands of years. This was the first one, the original, the anchor. All the others were built from. I stepped inside. The chamber was massive, the size of a cathedral, and in the center the crystal, but this one was cracked. Fissures ran through it, glowing, pulsing, like a heartbeat struggling to continue. And surrounding it were figures, hundreds of them, all standing in concentric circles, facing inward. I recognized some, people from Ashmont Creek, the patrol officers, Dr. Holt, Kyle, Vincent, all the people who'd been absorbed, all the people who'd become part of the between. They turned to me as I entered, and they spoke. One voice, infinite mouths, the final choice. I stopped. What choice? The figures stepped aside, revealing a path to the crystal. Reset the anchor, delay the merge, give humanity more time. They gestured to the crystal, or embrace the merge, accept the reunion, become whole. I looked at the cracked crystal, at the darkness leaking from the fissures. If I reset it, how long will it hold? The voice answered. Years, decades, perhaps a century, but it will fail again. The merge is inevitable. The structures were always designed to collapse. I clenched my fists. Then what's the point? Why delay it if it's just going to happen anyway? The figures moved closer, not threatening, just present. Because time matters, because every moment of individual existence has value, because the journey matters as much as the destination. I looked at them, at the faces of people I'd known, people I'd lost. What happens if I embrace the merge now? If I let the anchor fail? The voice softened. The timelines collapse. All realities merge into one. Individual consciousness dissolves, but it reforms as something greater, a unified awareness, experiencing all possibilities simultaneously. No separation, no loss, no pain. It sounded peaceful, tempting. What if people aren't ready? I asked. What if they want more time, more choice? The figures were silent for a moment. Then Kyle stepped forward, separated from the others. He looked like himself again, whole, clear. That's why you're here, he said. To make that choice, for everyone. I stared at him. That's not fair. I shouldn't decide for everyone else. Kyle smiled. You're not deciding for them. You're deciding for yourself. And your choice creates a path, a possibility. Others can follow or choose differently. That's what free will is. I turned to the crystal. The cracks were spreading. Slowly, inevitably. If I reset it, if I hold the network together, what happens to all of you? To everyone in the between? Vincent's voice came from the crowd. We remain, holding the anchors, stabilizing the network. It's our choice, our contribution. I felt tears on my face. Freezing in the cold. You're sacrificing yourselves to give the rest of us more time. Not sacrifice, Vincent said. Purpose. I walked toward the crystal. Each step felt heavier. I reached out, placed my hand on the surface. It was warm, alive, struggling. I closed my eyes, thought about everything I'd seen, everyone I'd lost, everyone still out there, living their lives, unaware of how close they'd come to annihilation. They deserved time. They deserved choice, even if it was temporary, even if the end was inevitable. I am real. I am whole. I am returning. I activated the reset. The crystal exploded with light. Not destructive, transformative. I felt it surge through me, through the personal anchor, through every atom of my being. The fissures in the crystal sealed. The darkness receded. The structure stabilized. Around me, the figures began to glow, their forms merging with the anchor, becoming part of the network, part of the foundation. Kyle looked at me one last time. "Thank you for giving them more time. Will I see you again?" I asked. He smiled. "Every time you remember me, every time you make a choice, I'll be there." And then he was gone, dissolved into light. All of them did. Vincent, Dr. Holt, the patrol officers, everyone. They became the anchor, the network, the foundation holding reality together. And I was alone. The personal anchor pulsed, harder now, insistent. It was time to go back. I turned away from the crystal, walked toward the entrance. But as I stepped out of the chamber, I wasn't in Antarctica anymore. I was standing in the clearing at Ashmont Creek. The structure was still there, but it wasn't glowing anymore. It looked dormant, inactive. I heard voices, shouting, coming from the village. I ran toward them. When I emerged from the forest, I saw people, dozens of them, walking out of buildings, looking confused, disoriented. They were back, the residents of Ashmont Creek, returned from wherever they'd been, whole alive. I saw the woman from the community center, the one Elena had tried to save. She was standing in the street, looking around in wonder. She saw me, recognized me. "What happened?" she asked. "Where were we?" I didn't know how to answer. "You were lost, but you're back now." She looked at the forest, at the structure beyond. I remember darkness, voices, a pulling sensation. And then, nothing. I nodded. "It's over now. You're safe." She started to cry. Relief, confusion, gratitude. Others gathered around, asking questions, searching for answers. I told them what I could, that there had been an event, an anomaly, that they'd been displaced, but they were home now. Most of them didn't understand, but they accepted it. They were alive. That was enough. Emergency services arrived, hours later. Helicopters, rescue teams, medical personnel. They found a village full of confused but unharmed people. No explanation, no clear cause. I was debriefed, again, by different agents, different departments. I told them a simplified version: environmental anomaly, temporal displacement, mass hallucination. They didn't believe me, but they couldn't disprove it. The village was evacuated, studied, monitored, but they never found the structure. It had disappeared, or maybe it had never been there in the way they could measure. The personal anchor went dormant. Just a piece of metal and crystal now. No pulse, no warmth. Dr. Tanaka contacted me weeks later, asked if it had worked. I told her it had. The anchors were reset, stable, holding. She asked how long they'd last. I told her the truth. I didn't know. Maybe decades, maybe a century. But humanity had time to grow, to evolve, to decide what kind of existence they wanted. She asked what happened to the people in the between. I told her they chose to stay, to hold the network, to give the rest of us a chance. There was a long silence on the line. Then she said, "They were heroes." I agreed. 3 months later, I returned to Ashmont Creek. The village was abandoned again, but not like before. This time it was deliberate. The residents had relocated. Too many memories, too much trauma. I walked through the empty streets, past the diner, the post office, the community center. Everything was exactly as it had been, frozen in time. I made my way to the forest, to the clearing. The structure was gone, just empty ground, grass growing where it had stood, but I could still feel it, a faint echo, a residual energy. I knelt down, placed my hand on the earth, and I whispered, "Thank you." The wind picked up, just for a moment, like a response. Then silence. I stood, turned to leave, and stopped. There was someone standing at the edge of the clearing, a man middle-aged, wearing hiking gear. He looked at me. "Is this Ashmont Creek?" I nodded. It was. "It's abandoned now." He frowned. "That's strange. I was just here 2 days ago. Stayed at a bed, and breakfast in town. Nice people." My blood ran cold. 2 days ago. He nodded. "Yeah. Came back to do more hiking, but now everything's empty. Where did everyone go? I stared at him. What's today's date? He told me. It was the same day, the same date, as when I'd left Antarctica. No time had passed, or all of it had. I looked at the man, really looked at him. He was real, solid, not a fragment, not an echo, but he was from a different timeline, a different layer. The anchors were holding, but the layers were still bleeding through, touching, overlapping. It was working, but it was fragile. I told the man to leave, to go back the way he came, to not return. He looked confused, but he listened. I watched him disappear into the forest, and I understood. The merge hadn't stopped. It had only slowed. The timelines were still collapsing, just gradually, gently, giving people time to say goodbye, to finish their stories, to choose their endings. One day, maybe in my lifetime, maybe after, the anchors would fail again, and when they did, the merge would complete. All realities, all timelines, all possibilities, becoming one. But until then, time to live, time to love, time to exist as individuals. And that was enough. I left Ashmont Creek for the last time, returned to my life, my job, my routine. But I never forgot. I carried the personal anchor with me, kept it close, a reminder. And sometimes, late at night, I'd feel it pulse. Just once, faint, like a heartbeat from somewhere else, someone else. Vincent, Kyle, Dr. Holt, all of them, still there, still holding the network, still giving us time. And I'd whisper the phrase, the one Dr. Tanaka taught me: I am real, I am whole, I am returning. Not because I needed it anymore, but because they did. A reminder that they weren't forgotten, that their sacrifice mattered, that we were all still connected, across timelines, across realities, across the spaces between. That was nearly 2 years ago. I still monitor the reports, the disappearances, the anomalies. They're increasing, slowly, gradually. More villages going silent, more structures appearing, more people slipping between the layers. The anchors are holding, but they're weakening. I estimate we have maybe 50 years, maybe less, and then the merge will complete. Everything we know, everything we are, will become something else, something unified, something infinite. I don't know if that's good or bad, beautiful or terrifying. Maybe it's both. But I do know this: every moment until then matters, every choice, every connection, every experience. Because we're not just living for ourselves, we're living for everyone who came before, everyone who's coming after, everyone who exists in the spaces between. We're all part of the same story, and the ending hasn't been written yet. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. If you've ever felt like you didn't belong, like you were in the wrong place, the wrong time, the wrong reality, you're not alone. We're all lost in our own way, searching for something we can't quite name. Maybe that's what the merge really is. The end of searching, the beginning of finding. Or maybe it's just another layer, another version, another possibility. I don't have all the answers, but I know this: right now, in this moment, in this timeline, you're here, you're real, you're whole, you're present, and that's worth holding on to for as long as we can. If this story disturbed you, if it made you think, if it made you feel something, leave a comment below. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know you're real. Hit that like button, subscribe for more stories, and remember, we're all just passing through, but the journey matters. Thanks for watching.